So today we're talking perks of homeschooling, and I have 5 in particular that I want to mention. And I want to not just mention the perks and the advantages and the great things and the things we love about homeschooling, but I'm also going to briefly just touch on the opposite. So for each perk or benefit to homeschooling that I'm going to mention, I'm going to kind of mention the reverse side and the challenge that is involved with that benefit, because things don't generally have just one side. Often there's good things, but there's also kind of things you have to weigh against it. Now, I think homeschooling is wonderful. I love it. There are so many benefits, but it is not all roses, and there are some challenges involved as well. So I want to touch the benefits and briefly the not benefits, or have you. Hi, and welcome. If you're new, welcome back. If you are not new. So today's video is part of a collaboration hosted by Brandy over at Art Inspired Homeschool. So I'm going to link her channel below. I'm going to link the playlist below. So go check out other moms and what they think are the perks to homeschooling. But like I mentioned, things rarely have one side. So there are perks and benefits and great things, but there are also some things that are not quite so wonderful, or some challenges attached to those perks. Now, this video is not about is homeschooling worth it or any of that stuff, but if you want to see kind of the reasons why I think some of the challenges don't outweigh the benefits, I do have a video on that, so you can check that out. But today I'm going to mention 5 benefits, perks, whatever you want to call them, of homeschooling, and then I just kind of want to briefly mention the flip side. And the things that are attached that kind of are challenges, because things often are two-edged sword. And while I think the benefits and the blessings and the worth of homeschool is far, far outmatches the challenges, I do want to present a whole picture. So without more ado, let me just kind of jump in with number 1. Individual learning. By that, I mean that you can go at your child's pace and learning style. You can pursue your child's interests. In a public school setting, you have a teacher with many students, and they kind of have to all go at the same pace. They kind of also follow the same pattern, the same curriculum, because the teacher just doesn't have individual time for each student. And so one of the huge perks of homeschooling is that you have less students to manage. Like, everybody has a different size family, but right, I have 3 when I'm doing all of them once. And even 3, I can take the time out to do individual teaching, individual one-on-one. If I want to get a tutor, I could do that. If I want to do a resource or a particular curriculum for one child and not for the rest, I can really tailor it to each child and give them the one-on-one attention that they need. And that is a huge, huge benefit. You can pursue their interests. You can leave out things that you don't see are necessary. Like I said, you can just really, really tailor it. But the flip side is that you are responsible to make sure that your children learn what they need to and learn at a progress or rate that they need to. You are responsible for knowing when your child is behind. And yes, there is such a thing as behind, not that we need to freak out and panic over it, or put our children up in comparison with other children. But the con of being able to really work at your child's speed and be flexible with your children is that you are also in charge of knowing when you need to change something, when you need to get help, when that child is struggling and needs those helps. You're responsible to make sure they get the education they need. And so while it's wonderful to be flexible and flowable and to work individually with each child and pursue their interests, you are also responsible for making sure they get the core foundation that they need to get. And that is a responsibility. Flexibility, and I'm talking flexibility in our schedules. You can make homeschooling work with your schedule. That is huge. You are not tied to anybody else's schedule. You're not tied to anything. You can do things and homeschool in the afternoon. You can homeschool in the morning. You can homeschool bits here and bits there. And you can do it whenever you make it work. You make it work for you. But the con is that you do have to make it work. You do have to fit it into your schedule. You don't get to go drop your kids off and then go do your own stuff. You have your kids, and you do have to make sure that their homeschooling does get done within that flexibility of your schedule. Informality and comfort. And this is one that homeschoolers are known for and a little bit teased about, right? We can come to homeschooling in our PJs with a cup of tea. We can just kind of be informal. We can just go with the flow. We can get a late morning going. We can sleep in on a morning. There's so much ability to do it how you want, in a comfortable and flexible way, in an informal way, because you're at home. You don't have to perform for other people. And this is a wonderful thing. It's wonderful to say, we stayed up late last night. We're going to sleep in. We're going to start our stay a little later. Come to bed, come to school in your PJs. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, we do not do that every day. Don't get me wrong. But that is a great benefit, to be able to really be comfortable in your school environment. However, The flip side of that is that you are responsible to get that day going, right? You want to sleep in, you want to have a late morning, but you can't just kind of let the morning go by. We can be informal and come to school in our PJs, but that doesn't mean we don't do academically what we need to do, right? Like, you can't tie the comfort and informality of your physical to your school day. Your school day still needs to happen, and you still need to get certain things done. And in a more relaxed environment, that can be harder to be self-motivated. Sometimes when I'm having a tired day or a late day, it's harder for me to get into our school day because I've broken that schedule, because I've broken the pattern of getting up and doing my hair. Therefore, I don't feel put together. Therefore, it's harder for me to pull everything together. So while the pro is that you really can be informal and comfortable and flexible, the con is that you then have to be self-motivated to get outside of that enough to still get done what you need to get done. Lots of options, sometimes too many, but we're going to list this as a benefit. You have so many options. You can choose the curriculum that you need, curriculum that you love, curriculum that excites you, curriculum that you think is awesome. Like, there are so many options. You are not stuck with just one curriculum that you've been handed and have to teach. You can choose curriculum that matches your teaching style. You can use curriculum that matches your children's learning style. You can mix and match. You can take bits and pieces. I mean, there are so many options for you, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful because what I love, another mom may be like, that does not work for me, and we can still both educate our children really well using different options. So it is a great, great thing. But in return for that, the con of that is that you do pay for those options. And I mean, literally, you pay. In school, they have the option given to them, and we don't pay for the children's curriculum when they go to public school. That's funded. When you are at home schooling, you get to choose what you want. You get to do what you want, religious or not, Charlotte Mason, classical, whatever you're going to do. But you also have to pay out the pocket for that curriculum. That is you're paying for the choice. Lastly, relationship building. You're around your kids 24/7, and you have opportunities 24/7 to build relationships, to disciple them, to nurture them, to grow them, right? You're not having them in the morning and then sending them away and that's it, right? You have so many opportunities to be around your children. Relationships, not just with yourself, but between siblings, right? You can nurture those. They have to work together. They learn so many good skills of even the skill of being able to work with distractions in a room, right? When you're homeschooling older children in a room and their younger siblings are running around like nuts, your older siblings have to kind of learn how to focus. But there are so many opportunities for building relationships between siblings and between yourself. And that is a wonderful gift of being at home with your children all day. But as every homeschool mom knows, the con of that is that you are at home with your children all day. You do not go away from them. You never have that day to yourself. Like, it's not like I pack up their lunch and send them out the door and then go back to bed, right? And I'm not saying that's what all public schoolers do. That's totally an extreme or an exaggeration, but you do not get the day to pursue your hobbies or your interests in the same way, right? You constantly have your children around them. And when you're not even actively homeschooling, you are still managing and training and discipling, and you have them all day. And that is a wonderful thing, but that is a challenging thing. And so while people are like, you have them all day, it's wonderful, you're with your children. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. You are also all day with your children, and you are sometimes so tired at the end of it. So while it is a massive benefit, it is also a big challenge sometimes. And it totally depends on the day and how your children are doing and how you're doing. But it's good to consider both sides. It's good to see both sides. And when you say, these are wonderful things about homeschooling, yes, they are wonderful things about homeschooling, but every wonderful thing that you get, you also have to give a little bit for. And so it's good to see what those are as well.